It is WrestleMania season. And you know what that means? The latest from 2K, WWE 2K24. I have played it. I have played a lot of it. And I'm here to talk about it with a lapsed fan, Mr. Benny Rose, on the next Press for Time. Brother, here we are. And the fan and the former fan.
Fan formerly known as a fan.
Fan formerly known as Rose. So I got to play a bunch of WWE, if you will, baby.
If you will.
WWE 2K24. The good folks at 2K sent it my way for review for Gaming Age, which I will have a formal printed review, just not as of time of this recording. Had some rodent issues this past weekend. But I thought it would be cool. I asked Benny if I could join in on the conversation again on Press for Time, and we could be one of the first ones out there with some coverage on the game, other than people that have leaked it. This is on an official way, And I thought it would be interesting perspective having a fan and then a lapsed fan in Benny who hasn't really watched the product a lot lately, hasn't played the games for sure lately, and see how his interest is based on what I tell him about the game.
Sounds like a plan. I mean, look, I've seen the history of these games. Obviously, I've been playing them since the PS1 era, the N64 era.
Right.
That's when I was a bigger, fan. And, that's something that we had in common for a very long time. And, it's probably been about a decade that I've really watched it like I used to.
Yeah.
But, I've seen some of the games in the last maybe 5 years have not been good, like just from your perspective and others.
Yeah. They've gotten better, but they really took a bad nosedive. So you're like basically CM Punk. He was gone for 10 years from the WWE. We don't speak of what he did in that 10 years. UFC, AEW, we're not allowed to talk about that. And now you're back. Maybe.
I mean, if the money's right, I might need to walk out, right? Finish my story elsewhere.
Well, we know what they say about finishing your story. The Rock will tell you all about it. It's a 21-minute video. But yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting about this is you made a point to say you haven't been watching as much probably in the past 10 years. And that's when we would go to some events, probably about 10 years ago. But what's funny is that they last did a mode similar to this year's showcase mode, which is 40 years of WrestleMania. As you can see in the logo, is the showcase is going through matches of WrestleMania. And 10 years ago, they did a showcase mode for the 30 years of WrestleMania. And even prior to that, they had a game called Legends of WrestleMania. I don't know if you remember that game.
Yeah. And PS2 era, right?
That was the 360 era.
Okay.
So you would go through WrestleMania matches up until that point with, and do objectives, and the gameplay was different than the 2K series a little bit. So that's where I draw my comparison. We'll jump right into the showcase mode. Do you remember the showcase mode?
I do.
So you'll play matches, you'll do objectives in those matches. As I always write in my reviews, as I always do the Gaming Age reviews, they splice in real footage. So as you're doing objectives, they'll mix in real footage, which I happen to like. But the past few years, I'm sure it's a license issue and not wanting to get sued. There's a lot of blurring out of people. People meaning officials, WWF logos. They're not allowed to say WWF, World Wildlife Fund. 2 announcers. Jim Ross's face was blurred out this year. Howard Finkel's face is blurred out this year. It gets very jarring watching it. I still like when they splice it in, but that really throws me out of it. Also this year, compared to those previous 2, one game being Legends of Wrestling and that showcase mode, no commentary in the showcase mode at all.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's like one of the staples of these games, right?
Right. So in the 30 years of Mania version from 10 years ago, they brought Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler in to re-record audio for those matches. So they did WrestleMania 3, which obviously Jim Ross didn't call, like Gorilla Monsoon called. And he would
Right,
just say his quotes and stuff like the Monsoon quotes, but Gorilla Monsoon has passed away, so you're not going to have
right,
him. So this year, rather than do any of that, and I know Jim Ross works for AEW, but they had nothing. So Corey Graves intros the matches, and then he'll talk a little bit during when they splice in the real footage. But when you're
mhm.
playing the match, it's
It's
just
just
like
emptiness.
epic music. It's like epic.
Oh, because it used to be empty, there used to be
It
no
feels
music.
it feels like public domain music is just spliced
Mm,
in.
is it
Not very
AI?
good.
AI
It's not
music
very good.
generated? Something they don't have to license, I'm sure.
Yeah, or they just created in house. So
Right.
that was going against it. And then also, so there's 40 years of WrestleMania. The showcase mode, can you guess how many matches there are in the
It's not
showcase mode?
40.
Not 40 is the correct answer. So previous years they took one match, at
From
least one
each one.
match from every WrestleMania, I think. This year they did not do any of that. So they've asked not to disclose how many and this and that. So even though the embargo is up, so out of respect, I'm going to do that. But I can tell you, there's not a match. You'll know right away, right when you boot it up. There's no WrestleMania 1 or WrestleMania 2 matches on there, and those aren't the only ones missing. So there's quite a few big WrestleMania moments, in my opinion, that are missing that could have been in there. So we have one match from WrestleMania 10. It's probably the most memorable match from WrestleMania 10, the ladder match.
Right.
But Bret Hart, Yokozuna, Roddy Piper, they're all in the game. So why wouldn't you have that match in there also? Like it just seems like some questionable things
Right.
are going on with that. Each WrestleMania has its arena, and a pet peeve as a New Yorker, the WrestleMania 10 arena is not formatted correctly. Well, at the Garden they have that short entranceway.
Right.
So they have that behind you, but that's not the actual entranceway when you're fighting the match. It's to the left. So the showcase mode is rather disappointing, in my opinion. Last year you did John Cena, but it was a fun spin on it. You didn't play as John Cena every match. You played as John Cena's opponent. So every match was a different opponent, and he did different tasks, and some of them you beat John Cena, and it was a little bit different. This you're still playing as different guys, but I feel like the previous two games, and while Legends of WrestleMania is not a great game at all, I think they both did this sort of mode better.
Right. It pays homage a bit better to the retro aspect versus like the modern era. Because I mean, even just from looking at the artwork, which obviously we know is slightly cut off here, anybody that's a fan has definitely seen it. Most of what you're seeing is fairly modern or modern
Yes,
in current roster. So
yes, a lot of the mode. I mean, there's still a good amount of matches, but a lot of the mode is more recent stuff. You also have the height of controversy, Brock Lesnar. We don't need to go into the allegations and such being named in a lawsuit, but he was in this game for sure. They removed him via patch. This is me assuming. This is nothing specific from
well,
them.
considering he was literally on the cover of
He was
this.
on this artwork for this 40 years of WrestleMania, right? But he still is in the showcase mode, and that's the only way you could play as him. But I do have a challenge for the people watching this on YouTube. If you're picking up this game and you're picking up this game on disc, I'm sure it'll happen relatively quickly. Everyone will find out. But if you disconnect your system from the internet and you plug in the disc, I'm assuming you'll be able to play as Lesnar because he's in the first patch. If you're not downloading that patch and he's on the whatever when it went gold, right? And they printed the discs, I'm sure he's on there. That's what my thought is. I could be wrong, but I think they just patched him out. Back in the day, they delay the game. Remember when like Owen
Right.
Hart with the Blue Blazer and stuff like that? They literally delayed Attitude because Owen passed.
Right. Makes
Now they
sense.
could just patch it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. So anybody that's watching, send in the comments. Let us know if you end up picking up a physical copy. We're curious to see if that's something that
Yeah,
could be a factor. Because I mean, that's happened with a lot of games that get patched. Day one patches. There's certain exploits and things that
right.
can potentially break the game, and you can play them offline.
Right. And I'm sure he'll be created. I'm sure Vince McMahon will be created and you could download them. So whatever. It's really an extra step that's a formality at this point. They're a publicly traded company. I get it. Blah 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 blah.
Are we gonna get him with the mustache though? Is the question.
Vince?
Yeah,
Oh, we should make him with the mustache, right?
El Vincent.
But I I really shit talk that mode, right? I don't you know, the showcase mode. But I will say that is probably in my opinion the worst thing about the game. So everything else I've played, I've really enjoyed. My Rise is what can I akin it to that you've played? Uh I don't know because your wrestling game is so basically you're creating your own guy and this year they have they have two different stories, one if you're a female, one if you're a male, and they have it's basically career mode without being called career mode, and
Okay.
it has storylines and you're following almost a semi-linear path. It has voiceover, even your character is voiced, and you're going through with actual storylines and stuff they've developed just for the game. And what I played of it, I haven't completed it. Again, this is like in progress review. I liked it. I really dug it. They played into the current stuff with Roman Reigns being the reigning champion, and he's coming up on all these days as champion. Cody Rhodes. It plays into a lot of that, and I really I like it so far. I should
And how's
mention also,
the mechanics? I was gonna say because it wasn't that something that kind of broke in the last couple of years or so, where the games were like kind of unplayable,
yeah,
like
that's been
glitchy, and
fixed. That's
that's
been fixed. Yeah, for the past few years, the game's solid now. So Ukes was the developer who now went on to develop for the AEW game.
okay.
uh, and Visual Concepts assisted them, which was the in-house brand from 2K. So once Ukes left, Visual Concepts took over completely, and the game has been pretty stable since then. Pretty solid. Like gameplay has they improve little tweaks here and there. Like they have like a factor now where like you punch the guy out and he punches you and then you go back and forth and it has like an on-screen mechanic for it, almost like a quick time. And that's something new this year, and it adds to the tempo of the match and stuff like that. I feel like.
Okay.
Uh, I should mention the roster is huge. The roster is like over 200 people.
Really?
Yeah,
And that's
huge.
obviously like official characters because
Yes,
you think
that's
if
without.
you're thinking 40 years plus of
Yeah, I mean the large chunk is still the current guys. There are legends, and that's without any created guys. But it's got a really deep roster. You got NXT, SmackDown, Raw, Legends. I mean, Bad Bunny is in there again from last year. Post
Oh my
Malone is going
god.
to be DLC. I
Oh
don't
my
know
god.
why, but yeah, it's a really deep roster. There's more managers in it. There's announcers in it now that you can choose referees when you play the new special referee mode. Like you could be like Little Nate, Charles Robinson. You're like you don't have to be a wrestler. You could just be you could just be a referee, like
That's funny.
legit. Like oh, I'm just going to be a referee this match.
It's so weird. Is what's his name in there? The social media guy, Prime, the guy that made
Oh,
Prime.
Logan Paul. Yeah, he's in
Yeah,
there. Yeah, I
because
mean
he's
he's
like
a champion right
he's
now.
up there now, right? Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
he's
And a really nice touch is they kept Bray Wyatt in there, so his
okay.
family will get proceeds from it. They have multiple versions of him in there. They have like four versions of him in there. I thought they were going to do like a special mode for him instead, but it made sense. The 40 years of Mania, where on WrestleMania 40,
Right.
you could always do that another year, help out his family and support.
So you,
But
you get like the feed and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah, and they have all the different themes. The funny one that you'll like, I don't know if you've seen it, is they have like action figure models of a couple
Oh,
characters.
really?
So
No, I've
they have
never
like
seen that.
Cody for this year, and then if you play my faction, which is like Madden Ultimate kind of, you get cards. They
Okay,
have John Cena in there, and last year they had him, but you could only play in that mode. So 2K fixed it now, where anything you unlock in that mode, you can play in other modes. So the other night I had Cody action figure versus John Cena action figure,
that's funny.
and they move just like the regular characters, but like the joint limbs have like they
Yeah,
look they moving. It's really like cool to watch in motion.
that's cool. What about Finn Balor? Like, does he do the costume anymore?
He
Like
doesn't.
he used to do the
Yeah, he doesn't anymore. So he's in
wow.
Judgment Day now,
Oh
which is a
boy.
faction. Uh,
Gross.
I'm not sure honestly if he has that version in the game. I haven't checked.
That was
I
so
would
cool, that
I wouldn't
intro,
be
man.
surprised if they have it or they're gonna put it in that because last year's game in that My Faction mode, they would add stuff as
Oh,
the year
as
went
the
on.
okay.
So, oh, we have the 2005 version of this character, and they would add it in. So, some people have found some characters already. I don't want to spoil it. They
Yeah,
found some other wrestlers that had like different theme music and such, and then you get that version, which is cool. That they're like in the past when they had guys from different eras, you just had the same music and
for
everything. It didn't
everything.
fit. So now you have like five Undertakers. You have like potentially 4 or 5 themes for Undertaker instead
Yeah,
of
you
just
get him with
having one.
the biker, and
Right.
got it. The
So that's a good.
the 10 versions of the bell.
Yeah, that's a good question though. I think. I mean, I'll get back to you on it for sure, but I'm pretty certain they don't have that version in there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good time to kind of consider revisiting, because I mean, I used to love the creative character, and I've seen how far
Oh my
they've
god.
come over the years
Yeah.
too. So,
Yeah.
and everybody's big in that, even with other games like Tekken 8 right now, everybody's loving. It's not like a true creative character, because I think it's more skinning of existing
Yeah.
characters.
For Tekken. Yeah.
But with this is still straight creative character, which
Yeah.
has
And
always been something they've been great at over the years.
right. And last year, I mean, you look at the AEW game that came out. We're not really here to talk about that. And I had fun with that game, but the creator wrestler was junk. You couldn't really create anybody. This even last year's game, I'm not as into it as I used to be. I used to be great at the creator wrestler. I don't have the time anymore to dedicate to really do it. But now you can import images and
That's cool.
everything outside of music, which you could do on previous generations, for
Yes, I
whatever reason,
remember
you
that actually.
can't anymore, which
Yeah, which
really
makes
sucks.
sense though, like from an artist perspective,
Yeah,
because
but
then you're dealing with all the
you
rights
can't even put music on your console anymore, even
for
if you can't put
yourself.
it in the game, right?
Yeah,
But so you could put like last year, so you had say Chris Jericho, who you're familiar with. You could make Chris Jericho, make him look really good, but then you could also import his actual image. So when you're going through like the character select screen, it's not like a creator wrestler model. It's his actual image
got
that
it.
you ripped from the internet or something. So it's like essentially
Would
you're
it be would it be the version from when he was on the cruise?
yes. That's the one you want, the one with the David Bowie, Ronald McDonald
Yes,
version?
yes.
Okay. We can make that happen. I'm sure I I can almost bet in a week or two once this game's out, that version will exist.
I'm
We'll
sure.
add it. We'll superimpose it on one of your episodes.
All for it. Cool. And online, I assume, is that not live yet? When you're doing the game before the embargo.
Yeah, they did not want us talking about a lot of the online multiplayer or anything like that because it's not stable. Like I've had my stuff
Of course.
reset multiple times. The uploading and downloading of wrestlers, the same thing has been reset multiple times. It's
Yeah,
not ready for prime time yet.
totally fine. Cool. So how many modes does the game have at this point?
Well, yeah, the big modes are
The
uh
WrestleMania.
the WrestleMania showcase, the My Rise, which is the Creator Wrestler story mode, and then My Faction, which is the basically Madden Ultimate Team. You'll get cards, packs of cards. This is a microtransaction kind of mode. You don't have to buy anything. You know,
But you
the
can.
special edition comes with some. You can earn packs by playing matches, stuff like that. But those are the main modes, I would say. But then you have all the individual matches, right? So you have
Mhm.
Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber this year. We have special referee. We have casket match brought back, and you have
Ooh,
ambulance match brought back.
nice. See,
So they
that's
have
going back to
backstage
my
brawls
era,
too.
Attitude Era.
Yeah, yeah. So the casket match is pretty cool. I played a little bit of that. I played a little bit of the ambulance match. Special referee. I like the elimination chamber. We just finished that real pay per view, so I like playing those matches. What I also and I played a bunch of Royal Rumbles, which is always my favorite mode to play.
Yeah.
So what's cool about this year, and it's so minute, but it's important to me and previous games. So when you're playing the game, you're looking at the ring from the hard camera side. So the entranceway is on your left, while the screen, the ring is head on. You got, oh, it's the other left then for the viewers here. This would be the entranceway. You can shift the camera so you'll see the ramp head on, and you'll see the Titantron, the ramp, and then the ring. So then you could see
Okay.
the guys coming out for the Rumble. So
Nice.
you'll see their Tron play. You'll see them
I
run
mean, I
out.
feel like they like some of the games used to change the camera for that
Yes,
in some
yes.
cases.
Pre old ones, probably back from when you were actually playing, they had the
Right.
mode in that view, and I always preferred it because then you could see the Tron with the music, the guys run out, the guys leave the same way. Like this way, like if the volume's a little low or something, like who's next? You don't know. You're listening for it. But if you could see them come out, it just adds a little something special, in my opinion, to it. And you
No,
could
that's
switch
cool.
on the fly. You just press pause and it'll rotate the camera view. When you spectate, you could do the same thing. You could rotate the view. You can go from crowd view, a lot of different camera angle perspectives and stuff like that. Presentation, it's the best it's been. Entrances, all that stuff looks and plays great.
How's the crowd look after all these years? Have we
Yeah, you know,
improved?
they look good, but like, I
I mean,
mean,
you can only do so much. I mean, I
that's
feel
what I feel like. I
so. I
feel like,
get it.
oh, is this
But I
like the
mean,
best we
remember, it
can
used
get?
to be cookie cutter. It used to be
Yeah,
like, just like 5 different animations. But I feel like
or,
it, it, it
five
definitely
different
improved.
skins, and then like
Yeah.
they're all just scattered along. Yeah, so
Like, I
what
mean,
they'll
I
do
used
is actually depending on the ring you use. So if you use like SummerSlam, I don't even know which one's in there, 88, something like that. You'll have fans wearing shirts from that generation. If you pick WrestleMania 40, you'll have the guys wearing current in the crowd. They'll be wearing Roman Reigns shirts. You pick
okay.
the 90s, they'll be wearing Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels shirts. So they do
That's cool.
change the crowd based on what
Okay.
arena they're fighting in.
That works. And what about backstage brawls and stuff?
Backstage, I haven't dove into yet. From what I read, it's similar to last year's, but now you could play with 4 players, where
Okay.
last year you could only do two. It was a big area. It was a big backstage area. A lot of
And
weapons, a lot of different weapons to use. And oh, real quick before you go into the next thing, what ties to that is blood and face paint. Now, like face paint wears off, so like the Ultimate Warrior will wear off as the match goes, and blood will stick on the floors and mats as well as
okay.
the wrestler. So if it gets on his
Yeah.
torso, so they've done a
Stays
really
on.
good job with that.
That's cool. Um, I was gonna say, I'm trying to remember because I'm just obviously thinking about like when you do those story modes, is it dialogue or is it all text based?
No,
Because I
no,
remember
it's
a lot of the games in the back past used to like have certain scenes would be dialogue and then it'd be a lot of text.
fully voiced over. I
Cool.
was I was impressed with how much voiceover was in there. I was surprised. The clicking through the backstage stuff and doing your attributes and stuff, it's a little disjointed compared to like playing the actual game. But it's like, oh, there's Cody Rhodes. You want to like you press over to Cody Rhodes and press X. Like it's like,
Yeah. You don't need to do that.
yeah. Well,
It's
it's
it's like
different
is
from
it
the old
hand holding you?
yeah. It's just menu based. Whereas the old game, you'd like walk around like doofily, like in the
Yeah.
backstage. Like I don't need that.
Mhm.
To that end, this is better, but it's still probably not a good perfect interface. Like
Got it.
it has a fake Twitter on there with DMs and everything, and you're seeing like posts on it.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're fitting the world of social media, which was never incorporated in the past.
Yeah.
And it's so important to all these,
Oh
wrestlers,
yeah.
I'd say
Well, yeah.
nowadays.
If you look at WrestleMania coming up, I mean, we were probably going to get The Rock and Roman Reigns, and now the internet calls us a tissy and the Cody crybabies, as The Rock would say. And now Cody's getting to maybe finish his story, but not if The Rock has his way.
Right? Is that it?
The other way, though.
This way?
Yeah, the L.
Not fully closed. I know some of it. See, I'm
It's
not
it
as
it
far
honestly.
behind as I used to
I
be.
I fell off for a while. Probably towards maybe 2021, 2022. I mean, during 2020, during COVID, there was nothing else to do anyway. So I was watching it. It wasn't great. But
That was a weird era. Just
yeah,
watching them fight in like empty places and then
yeah,
watching computer screens
yeah, with the
of
people's
people at
faces.
home.
They have that in the game.
It's so weird.
Thunderdome.
So weird.
But yeah,
Alright,
I've really gotten into it back again the past 8 months, I would say, probably from SummerSlam, maybe a little bit before then. I mean, I was still watching, but I wouldn't watch like every Raw, and now I'm watching every
right.
Raw.
And I was gonna say, with all of the wrestler turnover, as I call it, because you got guys going back and forth between the different, businesses, obviously anybody that's not there is not gonna be in the game, right? From my understanding.
Unfortunately, what's weird is so Ric Flair is in AEW right now. He's not wrestling or anything, but he's there, so he's not in this game. But Jake the Snake Roberts is in AEW also and has been for many years, and he is in the game. So there is I'm sure Flair is on a Legends deal with WWE, but there are some people that I'm sure the company just says like you can't have him in there. Like
Right,
Jake the Snake isn't featured predominantly on AEW. He'll never be known as an AEW guy ever. So they're probably like whatever, we'll feature him in the game still. I would say this is still probably outside of Legends, this is the most complete game they've ever done. Usually you'll
right.
get the game will come out like look at friggin' when Warzone came out. Bret Hart, Bulldog were in there, and they left the company 7 months
Yeah,
before. They were
right.
gone. So
That's
it's like,
true.
and it was only like 12 guys in that game, what, 12 or 14 guys at total. So
Yeah,
this is the most complete, and there was a lot of questions about DLC. They announced the season pass if CM Punk was going to be in it, and he is in the first pack of the season pass. So you have really a really really complete, even without the creator roster, which will fix everything else. But
right.
yeah, the guys in AEW are missed. Like Sting, uh, Edge, and Christian. Those kind of guys that are former WWE legends, right?
That's why I'm saying, yeah.
Jeff Jarrett.
I was gonna say, where the Hardys now? Are they still
They're in
wrestling?
they're in AEW also. Yeah.
See? So you can't even do TLCs if you wanted in a
Well,
traditional way,
you could do the
because the
creator roster.
Dudleys aren't there either, right?
The
Okay.
Dudleys are going to be in the DLC. They'll be the first. They're in the first
Really?
DLC pack. Yeah, with
Are
CM
they
Punk.
are they back in WWE?
No, they just are on a Legends deal.
Mm, so weird. See,
Yeah,
I think that right there kinda lays out the foundation of, I think, the overall complexity on making a game like this, because there's so many minute details and contracts. Like you
yeah,
said, 200 plus people. Think about how everybody's contract is different,
yeah.
So
And
it's
which
crazy, it's
guys are
ambitious
making
too.
some sort of residual on being in the game, and which guys
Well,
are
that
not,
too,
and
yeah. Who can use what music? Because then you deal with the artists,
yes,
especially
that,
when you have, like, bands write a song.
yeah.
Like, who
What's
was
funny
it?
is
It was CM Punk had Kill Switch at one point, or someone
he
else
he
did?
did, but
Yeah,
he still has Living Color now. He has Cult of
right.
Personality, but damn it, I forgot who I was gonna say. There is
Alright.
someone with with licensed music, and oh, Stone Cold. So there's multiple versions of Stone Cold in there, and they did get the Disturbed version of Stone Cold from WrestleMania 17, where he goes bad and partners with McMahon, and
Yeah,
they have the music in there. A lot of fans don't like that music. I'm you and
yeah,
I
Disturbed,
love
yeah.
Disturbed, so I like that music. But they
That's
did
cool,
get it.
though.
They did get the licensing for it, so it is intriguing to see which ones they do or don't
Right,
get, especially for Legends, right? Because you don't know, like, is it
exactly.
worth
Especially old music, yeah.
paying for the
Or
license?
yeah. Like, Living Colour is obviously an artist that's an old song, when you
Yeah,
think about it, but I think Punk's been using it for so long at this point, that point they
yeah.
probably have, like, a
Well,
very extended deal,
and they're mutually beneficial because they're selling that track tenfold because of him, right?
Right,
To the point that they performed at WrestleMania,
right,
for
which
his
is
entrance.
awesome.
So yeah,
Yeah, it'd be nice to see more of that, like, from an artist perspective, getting artists those opportunities. 'Cause I
they,
mean, back in the day, there was so much more in-house themes, which was cool.
yeah,
It's a different era, but I
yeah.
feel like it's more of
They are
having
trying.
artists
Some of
now,
the
right?
wrestlers now, like you said, they're on social media. They're trying to get bands to do their entrances for WrestleMania. So
Got
they
it.
put it on social media, hoping it'll blow up and they can potentially get a band to do it. But we'll see what ends up shaking out between, because like Bailey wants Paramore, and LA Knight who wants Usher. So it's like,
Interesting.
And Usher just did
Yeah,
the Super Bowl, so I don't think you're getting him for WrestleMania, but you never know.
right. No, that's bold, but you know what? Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
It's what's the worst that happens, right? You get a no.
right. Well, yeah, why not throw it out on the internet and see what you could do?
That's it. That's why I reach out to everybody and I get tons of no's or tons of blank replies. But thanks, Uber Bowl, because you reached out.
This is the
Shout out.
worst. Fuck off.
Hey, hey, hey. I don't need to remember that day. Not that point. All right. So, I mean, I'll be honest, you have me intrigued. Am I going to go and spend? I'm assuming it's a $70 game.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I'll do that, but you know,
It's tough for someone that's lapsed. If you ended up coming back and like we're a month out of WrestleMania, right? Literally almost
I've been
exactly to the
watching and
month, and you start watching again, it might be a better buy for you. At this point, I would probably say no. It's not like oh
yeah,
this will
it's
make
not
you back.
revolutionary,
Yeah, and it's not like this will bring you back into wrestling. If you're back already into wrestling, I think it's a no-brainer. This year's game
right?
is just the roster is so big and it's going to be even bigger with the DLC. It's like 6 different DLC packs. Some of them are a little questionable, but that's a ton of wrestlers still to add on. I mean, all those guys you'll have created, but still like they'll do the added work of giving you the theme like you said, different move sets, 2K is pretty good with sprinkling other surprises along the way. So I'm assuming the
Right.
My Rise will have more stuff, and they'll have more stuff.
Cool. I mean, obviously, if it does well, it might take a while for a price drop. So, 2K, if
Yeah,
you're watching, I'd love to check it out. Just letting you
yeah,
know. But no, I think this was a great opportunity for me to kind of get that vibe from you because again, somebody that played the games for so many years. I mean, some of my favorite ones were obviously the PS1 era. I loved like the original Xbox one, if you remember. Was it Raw?
raw.
Like that was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
except they walked like kind of weird,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Well, I
it
mean,
was different.
come on, they had flat hands
Yeah.
before all
Well, that
that.
was Warzone.
Yeah,
Warzone was like
an attitude.
Austin would go like this, and The Rock would just.
Yeah. You
Well,
remember when
those
the Dreamcast one came out? Like, it was so crazy because
it was
it had
crisp.
the how many what was it, Royal Rumble? How
Oh,
many
Royal Rumble. Yeah.
because it had a small roster, but what they did was you can play the same people, so it lets you have, like, 8 people in the
Yep.
ring at once,
Yeah.
which was, like,
And it was
mind-blowing.
fast because it was an
Yeah,
arcade game. But then you'd get
right,
duplicate guys, like you said. If they could have just got 30 guys total in that game, it would have been great, right? Because you would have had a 30-man rumble. You would have had no reruns on guys.
right.
That game is an underrated, in my opinion, it's underrated gem of a game.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. Well, any final thoughts on, obviously, we'll probably get your, formal review, like, in the next week or so on
I'd like to have it out this week outside of dealing with the issues that I've dealt with. It'll be on gamingage.com. All my previous WWE reviews are there. I do every WWE game every year. I do every Madden game every year. I try to do whatever wrestling. So I did AEW. I would say probably by midweek, I hope to have it out, finished. And I need to play a little bit more also still to give it the full scope. But I do recommend it. It's not, I don't know where this is going to sit. We're recording this before the embargo is up. But,
Yeah, so, I mean, formally, we won't give it a score here because
right.
Paul's review will give it that, but you'd say it's worth a try, for somebody.
If you're a wrestling fan, uh, I mean, unless you played really like the crap out of last year's and you still play last year's, maybe don't get it then because the showcase is not all that special. But if you haven't played last year's game, and the scope of the roster here, the presentation, the gameplay, I'm still finding little things. Like I fought a particular wrestler, and I don't want to spoil anything. And then like interference happened in the match with that wrestler. It was like really well done. It's something that like you would say with friends 5-10 years ago. Imagine this guy was in the game and they did this sort of cutscene with interference, and it's really well done. So
Awesome.
I would recommend it if you're a fan at all of these games or building up. You're on the road to WrestleMania, and this is the game to play.
Sweet. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody taking a listen. Looking forward to, maybe giving it a try in the near future. And again, make sure to check out his review. We'll have a link to the website below. We appreciate your time as always. Paul, thank you for being my special guest as always. Can you
Ate like a pig.
smell what the Rock is cooking? And does he even say that anymore?
He does,
All
but
right.
only if you acknowledge me.
Oh, as long as we don't talk about Cody, right? Take care. Have fun, everybody.